believe that the reason we do what we do, the reason we put in the work is because we love what we do, right? So we're not going to spend time learning our craft. We're not going to spend time learning our instrument if we didn't love it. And I'm sure that if I was to ask how many here have ever lost track of time doing what they love to do, if I was to ask that, probably everyone would say yes. There's been a time where I've lost track of hours where I've put in my practice time, and next thing I know, I didn't eat for a while, or I'm just, it's going crazy. So that's because we love what we do. But we do what we do, and this is what I believe, we do what we do because God has placed inside of us a gift. He gave us a talent. He gave us a gift to hear music. Not many people can hear music. Many people listen to music. Not many people can hear music. And I'm sure that if I'm speaking to a room of musicians, you've heard a composition in your mind. You've heard a drum beat in your mind. You've heard a melody in your mind. You've heard a break or a progression or something in your mind. And the ability to hear that is God's gift. Now, what we have to do is take what's inside of us and somehow manifest it in the exterior. Take that inner work, manifest it in the outside. A lot of people, regular listeners of music, they're just listening to, the loop or the hook or whatever it is that moves them. Musicians are listening for what's that sound? What was that chord change? What was that break? What was that, that change in the chord? So musicians learn or know how to listen deeply, and that takes a lot of work. Personally, I don't like going to, I love listening to live music, but I don't like going to Christian concerts. And the reason is not because I'm against Christian concerts, it's because I can't worship God in Christian concerts because I'm listening to the music. Right? So I don't go to Christian concerts. I go to secular concerts where it's okay to just look at the music. And I say that in jest, I say that with a little bit of hyperbole, but musicians are always like, man, what did that drummer just do? And it's hard to worship God when the drummer's killing it or the keyboard player is just rocking it, right? So true. So I don't go to Christian concerts. We love what we do. We didn't start playing music because someone told us they were going to pay us. We didn't start playing music because someone promised us we were going to be part of their band, most of us. We just started playing music because there was this natural inclination to bang on a pot, on a pan, on a mattress, to make noise on a guitar. There was this natural inclination in us to be musical. So we do what we do because we love music. And finally, I believe, at least in this intro, that in heaven, I believe the language is music. Because how is it that every nation, tribe, tongue, and people are going to communicate with each other if they don't understand the language? And we all know that the universal language is music. And I tell people all the time, when you read the book of Revelation, some people see dragons and they see fire and they see like pits of hell. And what I see in the book of Revelation is singing and worship and music and playing and creating new songs. So I know that, at least in my understanding, that music plays a very big part in the throne of God. Mm-hmm. Music is close to God's heart. And we all know the story of Lucifer and how he was, the covering cherub, the chief musician, built with drums and tambourines and flutes and viols, and he was a walking one-man band. And because he took his eyes off of the Lord, he wound up falling from grace. So if anything, I want to preface everything we're going to say that the reason we work is not so that we can be the best. It's so that God can do his best through us. Right? We work so that when we're playing in a worship service or whatever we're doing, we're able to create this environment where people can just worship God and not worry about what's going on musically. So we're blessed. So I don't know how many here have heard of the 10,000 hour rule. Have you ever heard of the 10,000 hour rule? All right, but my brother, you've heard of the 10,000 hour rule. What is that more or less in a nutshell?
Any skill that you work on for at least 10,000 hours, you become an expert.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so any skill that you work on for 10,000 hours, you become an expert. So some people are experts at being lazy, and experts at sleeping, and experts at being messy, and then others are, experts at other things. That rule really is deceptive in the simplicity of how it's laid out, because 10,000 hours of what? All right, so 10,000 hours. I know musicians who probably have over 10,000 hours and they sound the same as they sounded 20 years ago, right? So it's not a dig on them. I'm just saying 10,000 hours of what, right? Does that 10,000 hours include exposure to new genres of music? Does that 10,000 hour include exposure to other instruments? Does that 10,000 hours include some music education? Does that 10,000, what is involved in those 10,000 hours? So we need to understand that you can spend 10,000 hours playing your scales and your modes and be a monster in scales and modes and not be hired to create an arrangement in a studio because your arrangement is way too busy, right? So what do those 10,000 hours include? I think we have to kind of find out what we want to be or what we want to use our gift for and train towards that direction, all right? So I propose that we use the 10,000 hours to train to do the things we can't do. Now, I'm going to raise both my hands because I'm guilty of this, but how many are guilty of playing the same lick over and over and over when you immediately grab your instrument? Am I the only one? Right? More or less, we're guilty of playing what we know over and over and over, and that's great, but that's kind of like the bubble gum inside the lollipop. What's going on, June? Good to see you. Yeah. Right? It's like we're going for the prize. We're going for the pleasure and avoiding the pain. So the pleasure is, man, look how good I can play this lick. The pain is, look how this other lick is really kicking me in the rear end and how I can't get it. And that's really where the 10,000 hours, I believe, should be spent, on those areas where we're not good, and then reward yourself afterward playing what you're great at. And anyone who has been through that process of practicing knows that week after week, day after day, what was hard today becomes easy tomorrow. It's just that we are this mode of, I want to sound good now. Right? So I take classical piano lessons, and man, when I listen to Vladimir Horowitz, Richter, all these great, Arthur Rubinstein, Lang, the new guys that are out, when I listen to these dudes, I want to sound like that. And so I pick the pieces that they play, right? Because I want to sound like that. And then when I realize all the work involved, it discourages me because they make it look so easy. So what are those 10,000 hours going toward, all right? All right, so hopefully everybody can see that more or less. This graphic is from a website called The Practice of Practice. I highly recommend the book. You can get it in audiobook form, you can get it as an ebook, or you can get it as a hard copy. The website is called The Practice of Practice. And this is basically a dichotomy of a musician. You can have the mindset that talent, you're born with it, right? You're just born like that dude that's killing it on the organ, he's just gifted. And some people are gifted, don't get me wrong. Or you could have a mindset that, no, talent is grown, and while there is some level of gifting, that person who is really killing it on their instrument, they spent some time, right, honing their craft. If you adopt the mentality that talent is set, you either have it or you don't, this chart is saying that it's going to fuel your desire to want to look like you're talented. So you're going to strive for this, right? You're going to really strive for it. You're going to be always in a competitive mode. You'll probably not have a good attitude about learning your instrument because you're about accomplishments. If you believe that talent is grown and that you mature in your talent, you're just driven by a desire to learn. Like if I used transpose button last year to play in every key, and this year I can play in C and F, hey, I'm glad because I've grown, right? I'm not upset because I'm not killing it in A flat and in E flat, right? So let's look at that left side. When the mentality is that, man, this guy is just talented, right? He has it. When we approach our music, we're going to avoid the challenges because when we fail or when we can't play or when we can't learn as fast, we're going to say it's because I'm not as talented. And that's a defeatist attitude to have, right? I don't want to go into the room saying if I don't get this by the end of this afternoon, I'm a failure in music. So why do we adopt that mentality? Because we're comparing ourselves with people, right? A lot of talent is also physiology. Like certain people, their fingers are just a certain way. They're armature, right? There's something about them that may give them that edge. So, all right. But if you believe that talent is grown, you're going to seek challenges, and you know that even when you fail, you're learning something. When you believe that talent is a set thing, you either have it or you don't, you're going to give up easy because you're going to say, I'm not talented. When you believe that talent is something that matures inside of you, you're going to keep on trying and learning. How do I overcome this obstacle? And by the way, practice is really about how do I erase this obstacle? That's what practice is not speed, right? Practice is not how fast can I play this. No, practice is how cleanly am I playing this? And can I do the same clean lick 20 times in a row? So that's what the masters do. The masters will spend all their energy on one or two measures just to make sure that they're playing it cleanly, not fast. All right? Actually, for most practice, slow is actually faster than fast. Like it's hard to play slow. Your nervous system is like, oh my God, I gotta hold this note for it, right? I know definitely playing piano slow is definitely difficult, right? Because your nervous system is like, I want to move on, right? So we go into this fast mode, but now we learn all these mistakes and sloppiness in our playing. Right? So when talent is set, you're down on yourself for your lack of progress, your efforts. When you believe that talent is grown, you understand the harder I work, the better I'm going to get. This is important, this is key for me. When talent is set, you tend to avoid critique. So when you believe that you're either talented or not, you don't, for the most part, you want to avoid playing in front of people because you don't want someone to critique you. When you believe that talent is grown, you embrace critique. You embrace critique. Now there's a difference, and I've experienced it where people just are just mean and nasty. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about critique. Like our brother Curtis, right before we started, he said, "Hey guys, can we lower the volume down a little bit when we go to play?" That's a critique, and I have to receive it, right? As part of the band, and say, "All right, let me lower my instrument on this set." Right? And finally, when you believe that talent is something that you either have it or you don't, you're threatened when you see someone else play better than you. Right? Because you're like, oh man, I'm never going to do that. I'm intimidated by this guy, or I'll never be as good. When you believe that talent can be grown, you're inspired. And I can tell you countless times when I go to a concert or I see someone really play, that it inspires me. I'm like, man, I really love my instrument. I need to get on it. And that's really what we should be doing whenever we play, inspiring those that are around us, inspiring those that are coming up. So, we all have to start at a place called zero, right? And continue to move the yardsticks along. So we're all starting at a place, if you're practicing right, you're starting at a place where you cannot achieve what you're trying to do. right? Where what you're trying to do is not happening. Whether you're singing and you're trying to hit a note, create a harmony, whether you're playing keys and you're trying to get the chords, right, to Hezekiah, Israel, Houghton, or whoever it is, there's a point where you cannot do it. And that is the point of work. And from there, from zero, you can start to make progress, all right? So you have to, my recommendation is be intentional in the progress you want to make, right? So if you can't learn the whole song in one day, don't put it to the side. Learn the intro. Know what key they're in. Learn the harmonic pattern, right? Like I know how I approach or map out a song. I would like to hear from you if for the musicians in here, when you have to learn a new song, all right? How do you map it out? What's your process? Let's learn from you. When you have to learn a new song, how do you map it out? I just gave you a new CD. What are you doing?
Well, usually what I try to do is listen to the song over and over. Try to drill it in my head, as much as I can. Listen to it on the train, put it on while I'm sleeping, just to, subliminally put it in my head. And then once I kind of hear the form and know the form, then I try to, grab my instrument and then attack it like that,
Okay, good. So you're listening to the song to kind of internalize it and know it. You mentioned the good word, which was the form.
I usually, when I have to listen to a new piece of material, I usually take the song, put it on, go right on the drums, and start playing it, and try to see how close I am to being able to perform the song. And then after I do that a couple times, play that for about an hour or so, then I stop and listen back to this, then go to somewhere else in a different room, put the song on, and put it nice and loud, essentially meditate on it. And listen, and I'm listening for what I did versus what's actually on the track.
Good.
Was my style that I did what the artist's trying to do? Then go back, and then actually in there too, then lay out the parts, what they're doing in the introduction, how many verses here, what are the licks I'm missing that I have to learn, what are the fills that they're using, are there rudiments that's on this song that I can't do, that I'm going to have to focus on in order to get. So usually, and sometimes at that point, then you're frustrated, you feel frustration, like, oh, I can't play that. What are they doing there? I then have to go and find the artist and find the whole album. What's going on in the album? Now I hear what the drummer and the musicians were doing in this song. What they did in the album, now I see what they were doing in the song.
Yes.
Not going to
Excellent. I want to hear from someone else, but I just want to piggyback on something you said. And because I was going to remark, because you scared me when you said you play it right away. Because sometimes we don't play what's on the album, right? We're playing to the album,
Yes.
but we're not playing what's on the album. So you scared me in my approach, but I love that you said then I go back and listen to say, what did I play? Now what is he playing? And try to work that out. So I love it. Excellent. Yes, sir.
What I'll try and do is when I listen to a piece of music, I'll identify the changes I'm familiar with, and whatever I'm not familiar with, I'll try and find the time to sit down on my instrument, try to get the exact, as close to the voicings as possible for what I don't have. Bridge it, put it together, and play along with it to see if I'm as in sync with it as I possibly can be with the time frame that I'll give.
Yes, I love it. And I love that you use the word voicings, right? Because a C is not a C, right? A C7 is not a C7. Like how did homeboy voice that, or the girl or whoever's playing? Because that makes the song sound that way. So you can play the right songs with the wrong voicings, and it's like, but it doesn't sound like the CD. So excellent. I love that. You brought that up. Carlos brought up form. And anybody else want to share? One of the guys from up here, Lamar, is a drummer. Thank you, Lamar. Isn't Lamar an excellent drummer?
That's right.
Hey guys, doing? Mostly songs. When I listen to a song, I listen to the sections of the song. Because sometimes there's 2 verses and not 3 verses. But you gotta know when to go back So you always got to remember first verse, second verse, third verse, bridge, chorus. So you always got to know when to go back to what you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, my voice, I got to go right now. But because most time when I do music, I listen to the whole song and I play every style. And every musicians I've been around, they play every style. But I know sometimes young guys, they want to play every style. You know what I'm saying? Well, a person like me, I play everything. That's why I was carrying brushes, broomsticks, hot rocks, drumsticks. I carry all of them. But you gotta realize, this keyboard goes with every single instrument. It goes with every single instrument. It goes with drums too, but the thing is, this keyboard, once you learn this, trust me, because I had to do it myself.
Now, that brings up a very important element, which is you should have a mentor or a teacher in your life. You should be taking lessons, and I know that YouTube is great. YouTube is awesome, but YouTube doesn't provide feedback unless you have a relationship with the guy on the channel and you're sending him your videos. You need a mentor. You know why? Because the mentor or the teacher is hearing you outside of you, is experiencing you outside of you, and can now give you feedback. Right? So I take lessons now, and every time I think like I got a piece polished and I'm ready to like rock it, my teacher comes with another element to totally jack me up. And it jacks me up in such a way that I can't play anymore, because now she's making me think on that element. But to me, that's a compliment, because she's saying I still see more that I can bring out. So it's a compliment when you have a mentor or a teacher in your life. It'll make you go so much further. Now, here's my experience as a teacher, and I'll allow the guys to share as well, or if you are a teacher, to share. Most students don't want to listen to what you have to say, but they want to play like you, or better than you. But they don't want to listen to you when you like, I can't tell you how many times I've told a student, use these fingers on that chord because it's going to leave these fingers open, or it's going to allow you to transition to the next one. And they still want to play it their way. So after a while, I'm like, play your way. If you played it the way I'm teaching, not that I'm right, but if you played the way I'm teaching you, your fingers are going to flow to the various chord changes. When I'm giving a lesson and a student is struggling on a certain piece or a certain page, I'll tell them, slow it down, right? I'll tell them, slow it down. Let's repeat it over and over. 9 times out of 10, the student is not slowing it down, and the student don't want to repeat it, right? I've actually had a student get up, go to the bathroom to cry because I asked her to use certain fingerings for her diatonic chords. We were doing diatonic chords. And I didn't want 1, 2, and 3. I wanted 1, 3, and 5. Right? And she got up and started crying, went into the bathroom. When you have a teacher or a mentor in your life, that person wants to bring out the best in you, but it's going to come with critique, it's going to come with criticism. And as the student, no matter how good you are, you have to listen. We have to put our ego aside, right? And say, I want to hear what this teacher's telling me. Like, I don't want to just hear it. I want to internalize what I'm hearing as far as this feedback that I'm getting from my teacher. And many of us will get it if you're on a worship team or whatever. You'll get that feedback from your music director who's kind of mentoring you. But, I mean, again, experience it. 9 times out of 10 on Sunday, they're going to do it the way they want to do it. So are you really learning? 10,000 hours, are you going to be better?
We just have to be very careful constantly where the spirit of pride rears its ugly head in us not willing to listen, because that's pride saying, I got this. And it's hidden deceptively in the gift. The very fact that your gift can get it that quickly, there's pride right in the very fabric of your gift. I hope you are really understanding how much of a thin wire we walk every single day. Because there's healthy pride and there's unhealthy pride. How do we know which pride are we walking in? That's just a continued being on our knees. So that student unwilling to listen, that's a prideful spirit. It's also a prideful spirit because if what you're unwilling to do or listen to is beyond your level of ability, it's also pride is unwilling to step out of its comfort zone.
Inherent in music is the antidote for pride, because music, especially playing in a band, demands that I acquiesce, demands that I make you sound good, Curtis. Like, if I'm worried about me sounding good and you're the soloist, then my pride has actually hindered the effectiveness or the sound of this band, right? So inherent in the music, I must always be serving. Like, that's part of the work, that I'm serving my brother Curtis. In the church realm, you're serving your pastor, or your worship leader as you play. So you have to make it so that it's not about you, but you know what you're doing, right? I know the level of importance that I bring to a service. I have no doubt about that, right? I know that when I'm not there, when I'm not physically, spiritually, mentally there, I can change the outcome of a worship service. Same thing in a band. If Lamar is not there doing what he needs to do, he can mess up a set, right? Mess up a gig. So inherent in the music is this need to constantly serve someone else. And we're serving someone else. It's like the drum set. The drum set is a perfect example of what a band should be, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 individual instruments, 4 individual drums creating one sound, right? It's not just about the snare drum. It's not just about the kick drum. It's not just about the toms. It's about all 4 of those instruments creating one unified sound, so that it sounds like a drum set and not like 4 individual drums. That is the essence. If we could put what playing in a band and what that work is all about, that's really the essence. That it sounds like one unified sound. Now, to demonstrate, I would love to demonstrate, and maybe Jose, who's an excellent, he's the groove master, and an excellent person, and the man that actually instilled in me, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple, play simple, play simple, play simple, play simple, play simple, 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 keep it simple, right there, right there, right there, simple. That's Jose. And man, he's instilled that so much in me that I know I gotta play simple, at least when I'm playing with him, right? So let's give him an example, Jose, where we're playing the same song, we're playing Springtime, but you're kind of like doing your thing, and you're not establishing this groove. So you're just happy to have your awesome custom-made bass and your beautiful rig, and you want everybody to know how master you are. listening, it's so hard for this man, for me to get this man to do what I want to do. Because he's the groove master. But you can sense that everything kind of just gels together when it's simple. Everything just kind of falls right into place. Everything is in its pocket, and you're allowed to just lay back and do what you need to do there. Another thing that's important in the element of creating this band sound is the dynamic levels of what we're doing, right? So that everyone is playing with the proper dynamics, and we're all hearing and listening to each other, right? I know that for many of you, you may not go through this, but sometimes we play with musicians who are not listening to what's going on, right? So they're not listening to that the keyboard player changed, or that the tempo sped up, or that the tempo sped down. And one of my greatest pet peeves, personal, is when I'm setting up the song and the tempo is established, even though there's no, audible, but you can feel it, and the drummer comes in somewhere else. And in my mind I say, but didn't you hear, didn't you feel the tempo? Right, so let's get, I wonder if Lamar, yes sir,
The secret, or whatever you want to call it, it's not really a secret. But what I'm doing, I'm using space as a note.
Okay.
That's what that is. There's nothing wrong with space. Space makes the song breathe. If I cover your mouth, you can't breathe. You die, right? That's the same thing with music.
That's excellent. And there was a composer, I can't remember which composer exactly, I believe it was Mozart. He said that the music is really the silence, and what we insert on top of that silence breaks the silence up to create the music, which is an awesome approach to thinking about music. We think about notes, and silence is our enemy, and he's saying no, the whole palette is silence, and I'm throwing musical darts on that to break up that silence to create some sound. So we have music dynamics. We're playing as a band. We're playing as a group. We're listening to one another. I would like for Lamar to help me out. Lamar, I'm gonna set up the tempo, but I want you to come in somewhere else, out of left field, as if you're not listening to me. All right? So, he really did a great job. Yes, sir.
Can I play the original?
Yes, sir. All right, so now he's going to play. What he's hearing. Right, which is very important, because we're talking about listening. Listening is work. Before I even play a note, I should be listening to what's going to happen. I should be in control of what I'm going to put out, not put it out and then say, oh my God, this is horrible. If that's the case, don't play until you hear something worth playing. All right? So here we go. Very simple progression. How did Lamar know I was ending the song? How did he end so perfectly with me. It wasn't just an ending, it was like a, because he's listening. He's listening. And not only is he listening, he's co-creating. He's not just playing a beat. He is co-creating. Together, we're composing this song together. And so Lamar is saying, hey Dave, you got the keys down? I'm gonna hype it up with some drum, with some percussion stuff. And it's this act of co-creation that really is the work that we're putting in. Right? If we're just depending on Lamar to be like the main guy of the group and he's just it and everybody else is just, it's not really that creative, because we should all be co-creating, adding an element. All right, so let's see if we can create something on the spot. I'll just play. Let's see what these guys are going to do. Right? I don't even know what I'm going to do, but let's see. This is just listening to the music, knowing what you can contribute, having an understanding of style, having a basic knowledge of the progressions, the harmony that's going on there, right? Being able to listen. If you were following us out there, what were you listening to? Anyone that was following us and saying, okay, I know where they're going, what were you listening for? Yes, sir.
I was primarily listening to how the bass player and the drummer would lock in on the groove.
Okay.
I heard that you laid the foundation. Bass player picked it up. They locked in together, and then the sax came in, complemented the melody, just the basic melody line a little bit, and then just allowed you guys to kind of lay a nice, smooth foundation.
Yes, sir.
He said the right thing, because when I'm about to play, the first thing I don't care how many notes I'm gonna do, I gotta lock in with the drummer. That's the first thing. Once I'm locked in, then the music is basically done.
So setting that bass. Anyone else? How about from this side? Anybody else? Like, what are you guys? If you were to come up here with us, right? What were you listening? Hey, Papa, that what's going on?
I was waiting to listen in for when the sax were coming, and he came in like right at the right spot, you know, which sounded excellent.
What made it the right spot for you?
That it was just that little pause in between that gave him enough space to jump in there and blend in with the rest of you guys.
So Curtis, share with us, what were you, why did you delay, you know, what's going on in your head?
I went through two phases. I needed to hear the structure. I also waited for creativity to come. I hear melodies. That's part of my gifting. I hear melodies, so I waited till I heard something. And then I stopped because he kept playing the wrong note.
Yes, I heard it.
He wasn't following.
I wasn't following
where
that
you-
structure.
He wasn't following you where you were going.
That's it.
So
Yes, sir.
I was going. I was following the first two notes, but now I'm creative, so I could do whatever I want. I have to establish.
see how the spirit of pride. So I stopped because it was clashing
That's it.
what I was playing, and then he wasn't matching where you were going. So
Yes, sir. I heard that second note. If we were to now polish this and do the work, now I have to say, Jose, I'm hitting F. What are you hitting? Because he may be hitting. I think he was hitting. What was the second note you were hitting? E flat to what? G sharp. All right. So you were hitting A flat. I was hitting F. They work, except that now my A flat, I would have to change my chord. Right. So this is the key. This is the work. Technically, I composed that song.
There's no wrong notes.
That's it. Yeah, there you go. But we're gonna get. There's only one scale, right? The chromatic scale. He is right, but the reason, and this is the beauty of music, and with anything that you're going to create, first you have to learn the rules, then you break the rules. If you're breaking rules, you have no idea why you broke them, then you're in trouble. Like you should know, we should know you can use a 2 and a 4 substitute in that progression. We should know that rule and then break it, right? We could do a flat 7 in that progression or as well because they all flow, right? So what are the rules? Do we want to break them? All right. Spirit of pride. I created the groove technically. That's my composition. Now, am I owning it so much now that I am forcing them to play what I'm playing, or am I willing to now surrender it to the group and say, okay guys, this is my contribution, but I'm going to surrender it to the group, and as long as it doesn't go, because there has to be some level of reining it in, but what are you guys feeling about this? And now let's change it around, or let's adjust. Let me implement your G sharp, right? Your A flat. All right, so all of that is part of the work that is being done to create, music that is pleasant to hear and pleasant to listen to. What time do I have to?
1:30.
1:30. All right. So, is everybody okay? Is anybody bored? Like, I'm open to critique. If anybody has anything to say, you let me know, all right? I just want to review, I want to go over one thing, one very important thing in the last 10, 15 minutes. As a musician, you should be able to hear a song away from your instrument and be able to figure it out at least 80%. Right? How does that work? Does anybody know how that would work? How would that work for you? I saw some men. I saw your head nodding. How would that work for you? To hear a song away from your instrument and be able to play and be able to figure out what's going on.
Basically, just take yourself outside of, for example, I'm a drummer.
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
bass player, so I take myself out of that and listen to the melodies. Of course, assuming that a keyboard player is playing, and listen to where, certain chords kind of follow each other.
Yes, sir. That's right.
And you have to listen to the puzzle piece. And puzzle piece kind of puts itself together. So that's experience too.
Yes, sir.
So with that experience, you tend to learn where you're going to go, where you're going to end up. And
Yes, sir.
the most important thing is listening to where you're going, how you're starting, 1 or 2 bars, and then you can pretty much anticipate where it's going to end up at.
Yes, sir.
His experience.
And I love what you're saying, the experience, because I'm telling you that you can learn in church 95% of the songs away from your instrument. I'm talking about church songs. Because there's something called chord patterns or chord progressions, right? So you should know how these things sound. When I'm listening to a song on the radio, and I alluded to it in the beginning, I'm not hearing the beautiful soloist, and I'm hearing that, but I'm hearing 1, 6, 2, right? 4, 5, 1. I'm hearing that over and over and over. So here's a kind of like a scenario that I was in. A buddy of mine called me to play at a church, and obviously he said, I'm going to send you the song for Sunday morning, right? I'm like, hey dude, what's up? And he sends me the songs on YouTube, and I basically plug in my phone in my car, and I have my little notepad out, and I'm writing numbers out. And I'm just figuring out the songs, right? And so when I get to the place, because I wrote it out in numbers, I could play it in any key. Right? So now I'm ready to roll, and I play it, and you know, everybody's like, wow, how great is this guy? Well, not really. It's part of the work that we're putting in as musicians to get to a place where when someone puts you in a scenario, in a situation, because you've put in the work, you know the tools. I'm not going to say tricks. You know the tools that you need to succeed at what you've been called to do. So my challenge to you as a musician is to always be listening for the progressions. Not so much the technique, and all of that is afterward. That's like I call that the cotton candy. But go for the meat. And usually when I break down a song, I'm listening for the bass line. That's all I'm listening for, the bass line. Then, like my brother said, I'm trying to find out the voicings. Another thing in work, you should, one of the ways that I got my opportunities to play as a young person is that I was playing for a choir based out of the Bronx, and they gave me this song by the Winans called Millions. Now, that song has some crazy changes in it. Millions didn't make it, but I'm glad right? Something like that, right? That song has some... Now, I grew up in a Spanish Pentecostal church with guitar music. So, wow, they're asking me to play Winans gospel, but I learned it. And being able to play that, someone was able to say, wow, this kid is like really talented. It's not that I was talented, it's that they saw me playing Millions. And I was able to get my door into other opportunities that have blessed me. When you learn how to play songs, you're just putting on yourself this ability to, in a way, to get the job done. When you're learning songs, you're putting on yourself the ability to get the job done. You have to learn songs, not just how to play it. Like if you learned it in A flat or whatever, you have to know like what's the structure of this song. In Curtis's song, the one we played Springtime, that song goes from A flat minor to the relative major, B major in the chorus or in the bridge section, right? Da, 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 right? To the relative major. You should be aware of that as a musician that is working, so that you understand what's going on harmonically. Now you don't need the paper in front of you because you understand in your mind what's going on harmonically in that piece. All of these things, basically, what they allow you to do is to create your own music. Because, I mean, basically, for me, that's what I love to do. I love to create my own music. Where do you create from? Where no one here is gonna create something that has not been done before. It's been done before. You're gonna create something in your own style, with your own flavor, with your own flair to it. So when me and Jose get together, we basically don't discuss keys or chord changes or anything. We basically just play, and whatever comes out, whatever we create, we leave it that way. And it's like a magical moment. It becomes almost magical because this was inside of us and we brought it out. But it's the result of all the work that we've put in, knowing the harmonic progressions, having the technique to play it, understanding even computer technology nowadays, knowing how to run a sequencer. That's huge today, right? Knowing how to run Logic or Pro Tools or GarageBand or whatever you do, you should have those skills as well. All of that is part of our work. So before we go to the break, I just want to leave you with some quotes by some pretty famous dudes. Basically everything we spoke about. So Pablo Picasso, famous painter. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Like I said, I believe that we're in this thing of music because we really want other people. We want to bring joy to other people. That's really what it's all about. It's not about showing, how good we can play. We want other people to be happy when they hear us playing or singing or worshiping or whatever it is that we do. All right, Charlie Parker. Everybody should know who Charlie Parker is. Master your instrument, master the music, and then forget all of that and just play. Because scales and all of that, they don't have, they don't have really the ability that just playing and being musical, having feeling. Your music should have like feeling, right? And we can feel, you can transfer feelings when you play. So master your instrument, master the music, and then forget all that and just play. And the final one. The shortest jazz poem ever written, listen. Right, that's what it's really all about, getting our ears accustomed to sounds. My wife, who's here, my beautiful wife of 18 years, does not play an instrument, but she knows how to listen to Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and even Mozart, Beethoven, all those dudes. Why? Because her ears have gotten accustomed to what I listen to, right? So it just amazes me that you can train your ears to listen. And what sounds like craziness to you today, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna listen to that. If you listen to it long enough,
makes sense.
You'll find it. You'll find the flavor in it, right? You'll find the flavor in it. Like, when I was young, I didn't go up in a house playing classical music. They played trio music in my house, right? So when I first started hearing classical music, I was like, oh, it's boring. Now I love it. Listen to a Beethoven symphony. Listen to a Mozart piano concerto. And listen to a Rachmaninoff or one of his piano concertos. You'll see the beauty in that music. And you'll see how pop music borrows from that. Right? David Foster and all these dudes, they borrow from that to create the music that you're like, oh my God, this is so great. Right? So we have to learn and appreciate the art of listening.